Amanda Clark pressed her face against the cold window of the medical bay and watched the stars spin slowly outside. She had been standing there for 3 hours, but she could not bring herself to look back at the bed where her husband Jake lay, dying. The sickness had come to their mining station 6 weeks ago. It started with 1 person, then 2, then 20. Now half the people on Frontier 7 were dead or dying. The doctors called it the neural plague, but Amanda knew it was something much worse than any normal disease. Jake's breathing was getting weaker. The machine next to his bed made soft beeping sounds that seemed to count down the minutes he had left. Amanda finally turned around and walked to his side. His eyes were open, but he could not move or speak. The plague had taken control of his nervous system, leaving his mind trapped inside a body that no longer worked. "I'm here," she whispered, taking his hand. It felt like Ice Dr. Ryan Foster entered the room with his tablet in hand. He looked tired and defeated. For 6 weeks, he had tried everything he could think of, but nothing worked. The plague was too smart, too perfect in its destruction. "Any change?" he asked quietly. Amanda shook her head. "He's getting worse." Foster pulled up a chair and sat down heavily. "Amanda, I have to tell you something. We received a message from Earth Command this morning. They're going to declare Frontier 7 a lost colony in 48 hours. No more supply ships, no more rescue attempts. They're abandoning us. The plague has spread to 3 other colonies. They can't risk it reaching Earth or the inner worlds." Amanda felt her heart sink. Earth was giving up on them. In 2 days, they would be completely alone in space with no hope of rescue. Foster continued, "But there might be another option." The Zephyrians sent a representative. He arrived this morning on a small diplomatic ship. Amanda had heard of the Zephyrians, but had never seen one. They were an old alien race that rarely spoke to humans. Most people said they were arrogant and cold, interested only in their own affairs. "What does he want?" "He says his people have dealt with this type of plague before. He might be able to help." For the first time in weeks, Amanda felt a spark of hope. "Where is he?" "In the main conference room." "But Amanda, he's not like us. Don't expect him to think or act like a human." Amanda squeezed Jake's hand one more time and followed Foster through the corridors of the station. Frontier 7 was a small mining outpost built inside a hollowed-out asteroid. Normally, it housed about 200 people, but now the hallways felt empty and quiet. Too many people had already died. The conference room was at the center of the station. When Amanda walked in, she saw the alien for the first time. He was tall, almost 8 feet, with skin that looked like it was made of crystal. Light seemed to move through his body in slow waves, and his eyes were like looking into a rainbow. He stood perfectly still, watching them enter. "This is Ambassador Veltar," Foster said. "Ambassador, this is Dr. Amanda Clark. Her husband is one of the patients." Veltar spoke through a small device attached to his chest. His real voice was probably too high or low for human ears to understand. "Dr. Clark, I have studied your mate's condition. It is severe. Can you help him? Perhaps? But first, you must understand what you are facing. This is not a natural disease. It was created by beings my people call the evaluators. They are very old and very powerful. They send plagues like this to test younger species." Amanda felt confused. "Test us for what?" "To see if you are worthy of advancement. Most species fail because they focus only on finding a cure. They use science and logic, but forget the most important thing, which is compassion, willingness to sacrifice for others. The plague cannot be cured with medicine alone. It requires something much more difficult." Foster leaned forward. "What kind of sacrifice?" Veltar's crystal skin pulsed with deeper colors, There is an ancient ritual my people learned long ago. It requires the willing gift of blood from someone who loves the victim deeply. The blood must be given freely, with pure intent, knowing that the giver might die in the process. Amanda felt her throat tighten. Might die? The ritual is dangerous for both participants. Sometimes it saves the victim. Sometimes it kills them. Both. Sometimes it creates something new, something between your species and mine. I cannot predict the outcome. But there's a chance it could save Jake? Yes, but you must understand the full cost. If the ritual succeeds, your mate will be changed forever. He will no longer be fully human. And you, if you survive, will be changed as well. Amanda thought about Jake lying in the medical bay, trapped inside his own body. She thought about the other patients, 12 people she had known for years, all dying the same slow death. She thought about Earth abandoning them, leaving them to die alone in space. How much blood? She asked. Foster grabbed her arm. Amanda, wait. This is insane. We don't know anything about this ritual. It could be some kind of trap. Valtar's eyes shifted to a deeper blue color. Dr. Foster, I understand your concern. My people have no reason to deceive you. We have watched humanity for many years. You show promise, but you also show great violence. The evaluators want to know which side of your nature is stronger. And if we fail this test, then your species will remain isolated forever. No contact with the galactic community. No access to advanced technology or knowledge. You will be alone among the stars. Amanda pulled free from Foster's grip. Ambassador Veltar, if I do this ritual, could it help the others too? If it succeeds with your mate, yes. The healing could spread to all the victims, but the risk remains the same. Amanda walked to the large window that looked out into space. Somewhere out there, Earth was preparing to forget about them. The people she had lived and worked with for 5 years were dying one by one. Jake, the man she had married 15 years ago, was fading away while she watched helplessly. She turned back to the alien. What do I need to do? Foster stepped between them. Amanda, think about this. You could die. Jake could die. This thing could be lying to us. Ryan, look around you. We're already dying. All of us. At least this gives us a chance. Veltar moved closer, and Amanda could see her reflection multiplied in his crystal-like features. The ritual must be performed in the presence of all the families. They must witness the sacrifice and accept the risk. If even one person objects, it will not work. When? Tonight. The plague has progressed too far to wait longer. Amanda nodded. Then we'd better start gathering everyone. As they left the conference room, Foster caught her arm again. Amanda, are you sure about this? Really sure? She looked back toward the medical bay where Jake lay waiting for her. Ryan, I've been sure since the moment I said I would marry him. If there's even a small chance this could save him and the others, I have to try. Foster sighed. Then I'll help you. But I want every medical sensor we have monitoring this ritual. If something goes wrong, I want to know exactly what happened. Amanda smiled for the first time in weeks. Thank you. As they walked through the quiet corridors to gather the other families, Amanda wondered if she was making the right choice. In a few hours, she would either save the people she cared about or die, trying. Either way, she would not have to watch helplessly anymore. Outside the windows, the stars continued their slow dance, indifferent to the small human drama playing out inside the asteroid. But somewhere among those stars, ancient beings were watching and waiting to see what humanity would choose. The main hall of Frontier 7 had never held so many people at once. Amanda stood in the center of the large room, surrounded by the families of the 12 plague victims. Their faces showed fear, hope, and desperate exhaustion. For 6 weeks, they had watched their loved ones slip away And now a strange alien offered them one last chance. Veltar moved through the crowd like a living piece of art. His crystal skin caught the overhead lights and threw rainbow patterns on the walls. In his hands, he carried a device that looked like nothing Amanda had ever seen before. It was the size of a dinner plate, made of what appeared to be metal and crystal fused together. Soft light pulsed inside it like a heartbeat. "This is a Valanathi," Veltar announced, his translated voice echoing in the quiet room. "It is very old, created by my ancestors thousands of years ago. It can take the life force from one being and transfer it to another, but only when given freely and with pure love." Dr. Foster stood near the medical equipment he had brought from the hospital bay. He watched every movement with suspicious eyes. "How do we know this won't just kill them both?" "You do not know," Veltar replied simply. "That is why it is called a sacrifice." Betty Mills, whose husband Carl lay dying in the medical bay, stepped forward. She was 70 years old and had lived on Frontier 7 longer than anyone else. "Amanda, are you really going to do this?" Amanda looked around the room at the faces of people she had known for years. There was Paul Hayes, whose 8-year-old daughter Katie had been the first child to get sick. There was Lisa Carter, the station administrator, whose wife Mary had been fighting the plague for 3 weeks. All of them were watching her, waiting for her to make the choice that might save everyone they loved. "Yes," Amanda said quietly. "I'm going to try." Veltar placed the Valanathi on a table in the center of the room. The device immediately began to glow brighter, as if it could sense the living beings around it. "Dr. Clark, please place your hand on the center of the device." Amanda walked forward slowly. Her heart was beating so fast, she thought everyone could hear it. She looked back once at the crowd of faces, then placed her palm flat on the warm surface of the alien device. The effect was immediate. Light shot up her arm like electricity, but it did not hurt. Instead, it felt warm and strange, like being filled with liquid sunshine. The device began to hum with a sound that seemed to come from everywhere at once. "Now," Veltar said, "think of your mate. Think of your love for him. Think of your willingness to give everything to save him." Amanda closed her eyes and pictured Jake's face. Not as he looked now, pale and still in the hospital bed, but as he had looked on their wedding day 15 years ago. He had been laughing at something she said, his eyes bright with joy and love. She remembered the way he held her hand during their first dance and how safe she felt in his arms. The warmth in her arms spread through her whole body. She felt something flowing out of her, something important and precious. But she did not try to stop it. She thought about Jake teaching her to pilot the mining ships. She thought about quiet evenings when they sat together and watched the stars through the station windows. She thought about all the dreams they had shared about exploring the galaxy together. "Something's happening," Dr. Foster called out, staring at his medical scanner. "Amanda's vital signs are doing things I've never seen before. Her brain activity is off the charts." The light from the Valanathi grew brighter and began to stretch across the room like a bridge made of pure energy. It reached toward the medical bay where Jake and the other victims lay waiting. Amanda could feel the connection forming, could sense Jake's presence at the other end of the light. "Jake," she whispered, and somehow she knew he could hear her. "Veltar's crystal skin pulsed with deeper colors. The bond is forming. But there is resistance. The plague fights against the healing." Amanda felt a sudden sharp pain in her chest, as if something was trying to tear her heart out. The light bridge flickered and started to fade. Around the room, people gasped and stepped backward. "It's not working," Paul Hayes said, his voice full of despair. But Amanda refused to give up. She thought about Katie Hayes, only 8 years old, lying motionless in the medical bay. She thought about Carl Mills, who had taught her how to repair the mining equipment when she first arrived on the station. She thought about Mary Carter, who had been like a big sister to her for 5 years. "I won't let you die," she said aloud, pouring more of herself into the device. "None of you." The pain in her chest grew worse, but the light bridge became stronger. It reached the medical bay and touched Jake's still form. For a moment, nothing happened. Then suddenly, Jake's eyes opened, but they were not the same eyes Amanda remembered. They glowed with the same rainbow light as Veltar S eyes, and when Jake looked at her through the walls of the station, she knew he could actually see her somehow. "Amanda." Jake's voice came through the station's communication system, but it sounded different, deeper, more resonant. "I can see everything." Dr. Foster's scanner began beeping rapidly. "This is impossible. Jake's brain patterns are completely different. It's like he's become something else entirely." Jake sat up in his bed, moving for the first time in weeks. In the beds around him, the other plague victims began to stir as well. Carl Mills opened his eyes. Katie Hayes moved her fingers. Mary Carter took a deep breath. "The plague," Jake said, his strange new voice reaching every corner of the station. "I can see what it really is. It's not trying to kill us. It's trying to change us." Amanda felt the connection through the veil Anathi growing stronger. She could sense Jake's thoughts, could feel his amazement at what he was experiencing. But she could also feel him drifting away from her, becoming something that was no longer entirely human. "Jake, stay with me," she called out. "I'm here," he replied, but his voice sounded farther away. "But I'm also somewhere else. I can see the plague's purpose now. Amanda, this isn't random. Someone sent this to test us." Veltar nodded slowly. "The evaluators. They wanted to see how humanity would respond to a crisis that could not be solved with weapons or technology." One by one, the plague victims in the medical bay began to sit up. Their eyes all held the same rainbow glow as Jake's. They moved slowly, carefully, as if they were learning to use their bodies again. Betty Mills ran toward the medical bay to see her husband. Paul Hayes followed, desperate to reach his daughter. Lisa Carter was right behind him. Amanda tried to lift her hand from the Violanethi, but found she could not move. The device was still drawing energy from her, still maintaining the connection to Jake and the others. "The ritual is not complete," Veltar explained. "The healing has begun, but it must be finished properly, or the plague will return stronger than before." "How long?" Amanda asked. She was starting to feel very tired. "Until sunrise. The Vailanathi must have time to stabilize the changes in their bodies and minds." Dr. Foster moved closer to Amanda. "Your heart rate is dropping. Your blood pressure is too low. I don't think you can maintain this for 8 more hours." Amanda felt herself swaying on her feet, but she forced herself to stay upright. Through the connection, she could feel Jake's strength flowing into her, helping her stand. "I can do this," she said. "I have to." In the medical bay, Jake was now standing beside his bed. The other victims were sitting up, looking around with wonder and confusion. Their families crowded around them, crying with relief and joy. But Jake was not looking at his family. He was staring through the walls toward Amanda, his glowing eyes full of concern. "She's giving too much," he said to the empty air. "The device is taking more than she can spare." Veltar moved closer to the Vailanathi. "The bond between you is very strong. Stronger than any I have seen before. But yes, she is reaching her limits." "Then let me help her," Jake said. "Let me share the burden." "That is not how the ritual works. She must complete the sacrifice alone, or it will fail." Amanda heard their conversation through the station's communication system. She wanted to tell Jake not to worry, that she would be fine. But speaking required energy she could not spare. Instead, She focused on sending him her love through the connection, letting him know that she chose this freely. The night stretched on. Amanda stood in the center of the hall, her hand fused to the alien device, her life force flowing out to save the people she cared about. Around her, the families of the plague victims waited and watched, knowing that their loved ones' lives depended on her strength. And in the medical bay, Jake and the other changed victims began to understand that they were no longer entirely human. They had become something new, something that bridged the gap between humanity and the vast alien. Civilizations among the stars. The test was far from over. The sun never rose on Frontier 7 because it was built inside an asteroid floating in space. But Amanda knew when 8 hours had passed because the Vailanathi finally released its hold on her hand. She collapsed to her knees, exhausted but alive. Dr. Foster rushed to her side with his medical scanner. "Amanda, how do you feel?" She tried to speak, but only managed a whisper. "Tired, but okay." Around the room, the families of the plague victims were crying and hugging each other. Their loved ones had survived the night and were now walking around the medical bay, weak but clearly recovering. Jake appeared in the doorway of the main hall. He moved carefully, like someone learning to walk again. But his eyes still held that strange rainbow glow, and when he spoke, his voice carried an otherworldly quality that made everyone stop and listen. "Amanda," he said, kneeling beside her, "thank you." She looked up at him and felt her heart break a little. This was Jake, her husband, but he was also something else now. Something that belonged as much to the stars as it did to her. "Are you still you?" she asked quietly. Jake smiled, and for a moment he looked exactly like the man she had married. "I'm still me, but I'm also more. I can see things now, understand things that I never could before." Veltar approached them, his crystal skin pulsing with satisfied colors. The ritual was successful. "Your mate has been granted access to what my people call the collective consciousness. He can now perceive the true nature of the plague and how to heal it." Dr. Foster helped Amanda to her feet. "What does that mean exactly?" Jake stood and walked to the center of the room. Everyone gathered around him, including the other plague survivors who had come from the medical bay. They all had the same rainbow glow in their eyes, but Jake's was the brightest. "The plague wasn't trying to kill us," Jake explained. "It was trying to prepare us. The beings who sent it, the evaluators, they've been watching humanity for a long time. They send these tests to species that show promise." Carl Mills, Betty's husband, stepped forward. At 75, he was the oldest person on the station, but now he moved with the energy of a much younger man. "What kind of promise?" "The ability to grow beyond what we are, to become something that can survive in the galaxy alongside much older and more powerful species." Little Katie Hayes tugged on her father's sleeve. "Daddy, I can hear thoughts, not words, but feelings. I can feel how happy everyone is." Paul Hayes looked worried. "Katie, that's not normal." Jake knelt down to Katie's level. "It's okay, Paul. She's not reading minds exactly. She's sensing the emotional connections between people. It's a gift that will help her understand others better." Amanda watched Jake interact with the child and felt a strange mixture of pride and loss. He was becoming a teacher, a guide, but he was also becoming less human with each passing hour. "Jake," she said, "can you help the others understand what's happening to them?" "That's exactly what I'm supposed to do." Jake turned to address the whole group. "The evaluators have been testing species for millions of years. Most fail because they try to fight the change or use it for selfish purposes. But a few species learn to use their new abilities to help others." Mary Carter, Lisa's wife, raised her hand. "What can we do that we couldn't do before?" Jake walked over to her. Mary had been one of the sickest patients, barely breathing when The ritual began. Now she looked healthier than she had in years. "May I?" Jake asked, placing his hands on Mary's shoulders. Mary nodded, and Jake closed his eyes. Immediately, Mary's skin began to glow with a soft light. The small scars on her hands from years of mechanical work faded away. Her gray hair became darker. The lines around her eyes smoothed out. "How did you do that?" Dr. Foster asked, scanning Mary with his medical equipment. "According to this, she's physically 20 years younger. The collective consciousness contains the medical knowledge of dozens of species," Jake explained. "I can access healing techniques that your science hasn't discovered yet, but it only works when I'm trying to help someone else." He moved too. Carl Mills next. Carl had arthritis in his hands that had bothered him for years. Jake placed his palms over Carl's twisted fingers, and within seconds, the old man could move them freely again. "This is incredible," Carl said, flexing his hands. "I haven't been able to make a fist in 10 years. One by one, Jake healed small injuries and ailments that people had lived with for years. A bad back here, poor eyesight there, old scars that had never healed properly. Each time he used his abilities, the rainbow glow in his eyes grew brighter. Amanda noticed something else. Each time Jake healed someone, he seemed to drift a little further away from his old self. His speech became more formal, more like Veltar's. His movements became more precise and less human. "Jake," she called out, "can you heal yourself?" He stopped and looked at her with confusion. "Heal myself? I'm not sick. But you're changing, becoming something else. Can you change back?" Jake was quiet for a long moment. The other plague survivors gathered around him, their own rainbow eyes reflecting his glow. Finally, he shook his head. "I don't want to change back, Amanda. I can see so much now. The connections between all living things, the patterns that govern the universe, the knowledge of civilizations that existed before humans learned to walk upright. But what about us? What about our life together? I'm still here. I still love you. But I also love everyone else now, in a way I never could before. The plague didn't just heal us. It taught us to care about all life, not just our own families." Veltar stepped forward. "This is the purpose of the evaluator's test. To see if a species can evolve beyond selfishness. Your mate has become a bridge between humanity and the greater galactic community." Amanda felt tears running down her cheeks. She had saved Jake's life, but in doing so, she had lost the man she married. He was becoming something wonderful and terrible at the same time. Dr. Foster, who had been monitoring everyone with his medical equipment, cleared his throat. "There's something else you all need to know. I've been in contact with Earth Command. They've been watching our communications, and they're sending a ship." "A rescue ship?" Lisa Carter asked hopefully. "No, a military ship. They think we've been infected with some kind of alien virus that's controlling our minds. They're coming to destroy the station." The room fell silent. Jake's rainbow eyes grew brighter, and suddenly everyone could feel his emotions the way Katie could feel theirs. He was sad, but not surprised. "How long do we have?" Jake asked. 3 days, Foster replied. "The ship will arrive in 3 days. Then we have 3 days to decide what humanity is going to become," Jake said. "The evaluators are still watching. This is part of the test, too." Amanda wiped her tears and stood up straighter. "What do you mean?" "Earth Command represents the old way of thinking. They see something different and want to destroy it. But we represent the possibility of something new. The evaluators want to see which side wins." Carl Mills spoke up. "So what do we do?" Jake looked around the room at the faces of people he had known for years. Some were the same as always. Others, like himself, had been changed by the plague. And the ritual. All of them were looking to him for guidance. We show them that humanity can choose to grow instead of fight. We prove that we're worthy of joining the galactic community. And if Earth Command tries to destroy us, Paul Hayes asked. Jake's rainbow eyes grew sad. Then we'll have to show them that some things are worth protecting, even from our own species. Outside, the windows of Frontier 7, the stars continued their eternal dance, but now they no longer seemed cold and distant. To Jake and the other changed survivors, they looked like home. The real test was just beginning. 2 days after the ritual, ships began arriving at Frontier 7, but they were not the military vessels that Dr. Foster had expected. Instead, they came from all across the galaxy, carrying representatives from dozens of alien species that Amanda had never seen before. The first to dock was a sleek silver ship that belonged to the Galactic Council. From it emerged a tall human man in an expensive uniform. He introduced himself as High Arbiter Zane Morrison, and Amanda was surprised to learn that he had been working with alien governments for over 20 years. I came as soon as I heard. About the ritual, Morrison said as he met with the station's leaders in the main conference room. What happened here has never been done before by humans. Jake sat at the conference table, but he looked different again. The rainbow glow in his eyes had stabilized into something that looked almost normal, except when the light hit them just right. He spoke with calm confidence that Amanda found both comforting and strange. The ritual was successful, Jake told Morrison. 13 humans now have access to the collective consciousness. We can serve as bridges between humanity and other species. Morrison nodded seriously. That's exactly what the galaxy needs. Do you understand what this means for your species? Amanda leaned forward. What does it mean? For the past 50 years, humans have been trying to join the Galactic Council. We've been denied membership every time because the other species think we're too violent and unpredictable. But bridge beings like your husband could change that. Veltar, who had remained on the station to observe the results of the ritual, spoke up. The Zephyrians have been waiting for humanity to produce individuals capable of true empathy. Your mate and the others have proven that your species can evolve beyond its aggressive nature. But before anyone could respond, the station's communication system crackled to life. Dr. Foster's voice came through the speakers, tense with worry. We have a problem. Earth Command's ship just dropped out of hyperspace. It's a destroyer-class vessel, and they're demanding we surrender immediately. Through the conference room's windows, Amanda could see the new arrival. The U's Defender was a massive warship, bristling with weapons and designed for one purpose: destroying threats to Earth's colonies. Morrison cursed under his breath. They're going to try to sterilize the station. They think you've all been infected with some kind of mind control virus. Jake stood up slowly, his transformed senses apparently picking up something the others could not detect. There are 300 people on that ship. They're scared. They've been told that we're no longer human. Aren't they right? Amanda asked quietly. Jake looked at her with eyes that held depths she had never seen before. I'm still human, Amanda, but I'm also something more. The question is whether humanity is ready to become something more, or if they'll choose to stay the same and destroy anything that challenges them. A new voice came through the communication system. It was cold and military, speaking with the authority of Earth Command. Frontier 7, this is Captain Helen Price of the UES Defender. You are ordered to evacuate all uninfected personnel immediately. This station has been declared a biological hazard and will be destroyed in 6 hours. Morrison activated his own communication device. Captain Price, this is High Arbiter Morrison of the Galactic Council. I'm ordering you to stand down. The situation here is under diplomatic protection. With respect, sir, you don't have authority over Earth Command vessels. These people have been compromised by alien influence. We have orders to contain the threat. Jake walked to the communication panel and spoke directly to the warship. Captain Price, my name is Jake Clark. I was born in Denver, Colorado. I graduated from the Colorado School of Mines. I've been married to Amanda for 15 years. I'm still human, but I've also been given the ability to understand other species in ways that could help all of humanity. There was a long pause before Captain Price responded. Mr. Clark, our medical scans show that your brain patterns are completely different from normal humans. You've been altered by alien technology. Yes, I have. But by choice, not by force. And the changes have made me more capable of compassion, not less. Amanda stepped up to the communication panel. Captain, I'm Amanda Clark. I'm the one who performed the ritual that saved my husband and the others. No one forced me to do it. I chose to risk my life to save people I care about. Mrs. Clark, you may believe that, but alien mind control can be very sophisticated. You might not realize you're being manipulated. Morrison tried again. Captain, I'm sending you verification codes from the Galactic Council. What's happening here is part of a process that could grant humanity full membership in the galactic community. If you destroy this station, you'll be ending the best chance our species has ever had. High Arbiter, my orders come directly from Earth Defense Command. I don't have authority to ignore them, even for the Galactic Council. Jake looked around the conference room at the faces of people he had known for years. Then he looked at Veltar, whose crystal skin was pulsing with concerned colors. Ambassador Veltar, are the evaluators still watching? Yes, they are very interested in how this situation resolves itself. And what will they think if humans destroy other humans who are trying to evolve? They will conclude that your species is not ready for advancement. The offer to join the galactic community will be withdrawn, possibly forever. Jake nodded slowly, then spoke to the communication panel again. Captain Price, I'm going to do something that might seem impossible. I want you to monitor it with all your sensors. What are you planning? I'm going to heal your ship. Amanda felt her heart skip. Jake, what do you mean? The Defender took damage during its hyperspace jump. I can sense microfractures in the hull, stress damage to the engines, fatigue in the metal structure. It's not dangerous yet, but it will be if they try to make another long jump without repairs. Jake walked to the center of the conference room and closed his eyes. The rainbow glow returned to them, brighter than ever before. Amanda could feel energy radiating from him, reaching out across space toward the warship. On the Defender's bridge, Captain Price was probably staring at her instruments in disbelief. The ship's automatic repair systems were activating on their own, fixing problems that the crew might not even have known existed. How is this possible? Price's voice came through the communication system, filled with wonder rather than suspicion. The same way I can heal people, Jake replied. I can sense the patterns that make things work properly, and I can encourage those patterns to repair themselves. Your ship will now be safer and more efficient than it was when it left Earth. Morrison smiled. Captain, does that sound like something a mind-controlled alien slave would do? Help you even when you're threatening to destroy him? There was another long pause. Finally, Captain Price spoke again, her voice much softer than before. Mr. Clark, our sensors confirmed that you somehow repaired damage we didn't even know we had. Our engine efficiency is up by 12%. I did it because your crew was in danger, and because I want you to understand that the changes in me haven't made me less human. They've made me more capable of caring about others. Captain, Morrison added, I'm sending you files about the evaluator tests. Every species that's advanced to galactic membership has gone through something similar. This is humanity's chance to prove we're ready to join the community of civilized worlds. Amanda held her breath as they waited for Captain Price's response. The next few minutes could determine not just their fate, but the future of the entire human species. Finally, the captain's voice came through the speakers again. "Hi, Arbiter Morrison. I'm going to contact Earth Command and request new orders. But I want to send a team over to the station first. I need to see this for myself." Jake smiled, and for a moment he looked exactly like the man Amanda had married. "You're welcome anytime, Captain. We have a lot to show you." Outside the windows, more alien ships continued to arrive. Representatives from across the galaxy, coming to witness humanity's first steps toward a larger destiny. The test was reaching its climax, and everything depended on whether humans could choose growth over fear. Captain Helen Price arrived on Frontier 7 with a team of 6 soldiers and 3 scientists. Amanda watched them dock their shuttle and walk through the station's corridors with weapons ready. Even though Jake had assured them they were safe, Price was a woman in her 40s with short gray hair and the confident bearing of someone who had spent her life in the military. She looked around the main conference room with suspicious eyes, studying every detail. "So these are the people who survived the plague," she said, looking at Jake and the other transformed survivors. "We didn't just survive it," Jake replied calmly. "We learned from it." One of Price's scientists, Dr. Nathan Cross, held up a scanner and pointed it at Jake. "Sir, his brain activity is unlike anything I've ever seen. There are patterns here that suggest connection to some kind of external network." "The collective consciousness," Jake explained. "It allows me to access knowledge from dozens of species across the galaxy. But I'm still me, Captain. I still remember my childhood, my education, the day I married Amanda. The plague didn't take away who I am. It just added to it." Price walked over to little Katie Hayes, who was playing quietly with some toys in the corner. The 8-year-old looked up with rainbow eyes that seemed much older than her years. "Hello," Katie said. "You're scared." "I can feel it." "Katie can sense emotions now," Paul Hayes explained. "But she's still our daughter. She still likes her toys and asks for stories before bed." Price knelt down to Katie's level. "What am I scared of?" Katie tilted her head, thinking. "You're scared that we're not human anymore. You're scared that Earth will be hurt if you make the wrong choice. You're scared that your bosses will be angry with you." "That single quotes is ... very accurate," Price admitted. Jake approached them slowly. "Captain, may I show you something?" Price nodded, and Jake placed his hand gently on her shoulder. Immediately, Amanda could see the captain's tense posture relax. The worry lines around her eyes smoothed out. "I can feel your stress," Jake said. "You've been carrying the weight of this decision alone. You haven't slept well in days." "How can you know that?" "Because I can sense the patterns of fatigue in your body, the chemical markers of stress in your blood. Would you like me to help you feel better?" Price hesitated, then nodded. Jake closed his eyes, and the captain's face lit up with relief. Years of military tension seemed to melt away from her shoulders. "What did you do?" she asked. "I encouraged your body's natural healing processes. Reduced the stress hormones, improved your circulation, helped your muscles relax. You'll sleep better tonight than you have in months." Dr. Cross was studying his scanner with amazement. "Captain, your blood pressure just dropped to perfect levels. Your heart rate is optimal. This is incredible." But before anyone could respond, the lights in the room suddenly dimmed. A new presence filled the space, making everyone fall silent. The air itself seemed to shimmer, and then 3 beings of pure light appeared in the center of the room. Were the evaluators, and they were beautiful and terrible at the same time. Their forms shifted constantly, sometimes looking almost human, sometimes appearing as geometric patterns of brilliant energy. When they spoke, their voices came from everywhere at once. "The test is complete," they said. Humanity has reached the moment of final choice. Captain Price and her team stepped backward, reaching for their weapons. But Jake and the other transformed survivors moved forward, unafraid. What choice? Amanda asked. Your species has shown both the capacity for growth and the instinct for destruction. You have proven that some humans can evolve beyond their limitations. But you have also shown that others will fight against change, even when it benefits. Everyone, Veltar's crystal skin pulsed with deep blue colors. The evaluators offer humanity the same choice they have offered 11 other species throughout galactic history. Which is? Captain Price demanded. One of the beings of light focused on her. Evolution or isolation? You may choose to have some of your people transcend physical form and join the collective consciousness, gaining access to infinite knowledge and immortality. Or you may choose to remain as you are, forever limited to your current abilities. And if we choose evolution? Morrison asked. Those who transcend will become bridges between your species and the galactic community. They will guide humanity's growth and help you avoid the mistakes that have destroyed so many other civilizations. Jake stepped forward. And if we choose to remain the same, then humanity will be quarantined to your current territory. No contact with other species. No access to advanced technology. No possibility of expansion beyond your current solar system. The room fell silent as everyone absorbed the weight of the choice. Amanda looked at Jake, seeing the man she loved and the cosmic being he was becoming. There's a third option, Amanda said suddenly. The evaluators turned their attention to her. Speak. What if we choose both? What if some of us transcend to serve as bridges, while others remain human to explore and create and make the mistakes that help us learn? Captain Price looked surprised. You would split your own species? We wouldn't be splitting, Amanda replied. We'd be growing in two directions at once. The transcended ones could guide us, but they wouldn't control us. We'd still be free to be human, with all the mésanges and unpredictability that comes with it. Jake's rainbow eyes grew brighter. Amanda's right. Humanity's strength isn't our perfection. It's our ability to adapt, to try new things, to fail and try again. If we all transcend, we lose that. One of the evaluators pulsed with what might have been approval. This choice has never been offered before. You would create a symbiotic relationship between evolved and natural humans. Yes, Amanda said firmly. Some of us will reach for the stars in our ships, making discoveries and taking risks. Others will reach for the stars with their minds, gaining wisdom and understanding. Together, we'll be stronger than either group could be alone. Captain. Price lowered her weapon completely. What would this mean for Earth's government? Morrison stepped forward. It would mean humanity gets full membership in the Galactic Council. Earth would have access to technologies and knowledge that could solve every major problem we face. Poverty, disease, environmental damage, energy shortages, all of it could be addressed. But we'd still be human, Price said. The best parts of being human, Jake replied. Curious, creative, stubborn, compassionate. The transcended ones would just make sure we don't accidentally destroy ourselves while we're being human. The evaluators conferred among themselves in voices too high for human ears to hear. Finally, they spoke again. This solution is acceptable. Humanity has shown wisdom in choosing balance over extremes. We will grant your request. Light filled the room, and Amanda felt something fundamental change in the universe around them. She could sense new possibilities opening up, pathways to the stars that had never existed before. The transformation will be gradual, the evaluators continued. Those who wish to transcend may do so voluntarily. Those who wish to remain human may do so without penalty. Both groups will be essential for your species' growth. Jake walked over to Amanda and took her hand. For a moment, his eyes looked completely normal, completely human. "I'll always be your husband," he said, "but I'll also be something more." "I know," she replied, "and I'll always be human, but I'll also be the wife of someone who can touch the stars." Captain Price activated her communication device. "Earth Command, this is Captain Price. I'm recommending we accept the Galactic Council's proposal. What we have here isn't a threat to humanity. It's humanity's future." 6 months later, Amanda stood on the observation deck of the first joint Human Alien Research Station. Through the windows, she could see ships from dozens of worlds working together to explore a newly discovered solar system. Jake appeared beside her, his form now able to shift between physical and energy states at will. Around them, other humans worked alongside aliens who had once seemed impossible to understand. "Any regrets?" he asked. Amanda smiled, watching human explorers in the newest generation of ships racing ahead to scout unknown planets while transcended. Beings like Jake mapped safe hyperspace routes for them to follow. "None," she said. "We chose to be more than we were while staying who we are. I think that might be the most human thing we've ever done." Outside the windows, the galaxy spread out before them, infinite and welcoming. Humanity had passed its test not by choosing between evolution and tradition, but by refusing to choose at all. They had found a third path, and it led to the stars.